What's going on, everybody? It's Falcons Daily. I am CG, your host, Craig Green, and on location today, out of the normal office and out and about right now. If you want to give FanArch a follow, you can give them a follow up in the top left corner up here, FanArch Co., FANARCHCO. And I'm at Craig G Sports, CRAIG, the letter G, and the word sports. That's where you can find me online talking about all the different things. Falcons made some moves over the last day or two after getting trounced in Carolina 30-0 by the Panthers inexplicably and, quite upsettingly. Is that a word? It is now. But again, what they've done so far is they decided to part ways with Ike Hilliard, the team's wide receivers coach, and they are deciding to move Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, from the booth upstairs down to the field to have a cleaner communication with Michael Penix and the other quarterbacks. Really, is this going to even matter in terms of what's going on with the Falcons, why they're not operating on offense the way that we were told they would? Does the preseason play a factor into that because they weren't out there doing this in the preseason? I mean, these are all fair questions to be asked. But when it does for the wide receivers, now they're going to be reporting directly to TJ Yates, the quarterbacks coach. So he's going to be coaching the quarterbacks and wide receivers. And now with Zach Robinson on the field with Michael Penix, I think what that may do is try to eliminate some of the issues that we're having with communication, because we've seen it even before the Panthers game. You could see there were times where Penix had a hard time either understand. I don't know if it's his comprehension, which I don't think it's his comprehension. I think it's some sort of breakdown of communication between the offensive staff and the quarterback getting the plays in, and resulted in some delay of games and timeouts that we didn't really need to take. I saw it in Charlotte firsthand in the first quarter, watching Penix kind of put his hands up to his helmet, looking around like, what in the world? I can't hear anything. And again, it's not like the Panthers have some ungodly home field advantage. I mean, they had, the Falcons were able to communicate in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium, one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. Panthers are on the opposite side of that spectrum. I mean, plenty of times their stadium's been overtaken by visiting teams. And I mean, even if you're in Charlotte like I was on Sunday, you'd see several thousand fans sprinkled in red and black around the stadium. So again, we'll see if this makes a difference for the Falcons with this game against Washington. Who knows if Washington will travel with fans. I'm sure they will, but it shouldn't be to the point at home where you're doing silent counts and things like that anyway. So, I just hope that, again, we can eliminate these pre-snap timeouts and all of that, because operationally, we were told that this team is going to, could really take off on offense. And right now, through 3 ball games, they have, we're talking a grand total of 42 points. So we're looking at, right now, I mean, an average of 14 points a game doesn't really do much for the palate, to cleanse it or to wet it. Next step, or next topic, y'all, the kickoff returns on Sunday. I'm still kind of like wondering what was happening here. I mean, their kicker was just, it seemed like there just was a lack of awareness. I know the ball doesn't always bounce evenly, and you have to kind of compensate for that. But, it looks like that was almost not looked over, in practice or something like that. I would hate to talk about unscouted looks in special teams, especially with the kicker kicking the ball, but just the amount of times I saw Natron Brooks and D'Alford mishandling the ball was just, Nathan Carter, excuse me, back there just mishandling the football and causing us to have bad field position. It really stuck out like a sore thumb. So I don't know what the deal was with that, how they couldn't just get in front of the football or whatever they could do. Obviously, you can't block the kickoff and make them kick it the right way, but the ball's going to be trying to land into the landing zone, so you have to maybe try to get in front of it, at least let it bounce off of you, then pick it back up. But I mean, to let it go behind you and then have to turn around, pick it up, and then just get mauled by a whole slew of Panthers, that just wasn't it on Sunday, just not whatsoever. Also, biggest problems for the Falcons right now, I was looking at, the biggest problem, obviously, scoring 0 against the Panthers. That's a big one. But You know, in my opinion, it's not, it just it could be one thing from one week to the other. A lot of times it's penalties, uh, technique, or whatever. But I think it comes down to execution. Some people like to say play calling and Zach Robinson and what are you calling. But again, I still go back to, do you know what the play call is? Do you know what the other team's play call is? Do you know the intended receivers? Do you know the personnel? All of those things. I can, or hey, the most simplest form of play call criticism. Jeff Holton and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. Third down and one, fourth down and one, what are you doing? That type of thing. Are you passing in a running situation? Are you running in a passing situation? Those type of things. But, in this instance, I think with the Falcons, their biggest problem is the execution of the plays that are being called. And I think our quarterback agrees with us on that. He said himself, Michael Penix, we've got to execute. I've got to find those guys when they're open and get those guys the opportunity to make those plays, and it'll come. That's what Mike Penix had to say after the game on Sunday against the Panthers. Again, a game where the Falcons outgained the Panthers by over 100 yards and still got our asses kicked 30-0. So, but again, a lot of it had to do with operational things on offense. Couldn't get that right. Defense was put behind the eight ball. They barely got to Bryce Young. I think they had one sack. So just a disaster all the way around. Parker Roma, we already know he was terrible on that day. Penix, obviously his worst game as a pro as well. But yes, execution is what the Falcons need to do. They need to execute better, and I think we'll see the results that we want to see, because we got tough games coming down the stretch here for the Falcons as well. Here, matter of fact, I'll just show it to you. We've got all these games coming up here in the next few weeks. Right now, we've got the Commanders. That's who we're getting prepared for here this Sunday. And then Monday Night Football after our bye week, we got the Buffalo Bills. Very next Sunday after that, Sunday Night Football, Dolphins, Patriots. We got two divisional opponents, or two conference opponents, of course, be very tough. The Buffalo Bills are a huge litmus test to see where we stand in the NFL among some of the top teams. 49ers always tough. Our old offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, leading San Francisco. And then, of course, we have the Dolphins, who are kind of reeling right now. Their coach is on the hot seat, Mike McDaniel. We'll see how things look for them. And then at the New England Patriots, they got a new head coach, Mike Vrabel. And then they're playing Drake May at quarterback there. So again, not a lot of games that I would say are in the bag for the Falcons whatsoever. I would say some of these games are, they're winnable. I think the Dolphins and Patriots games are winnable games. Honestly, I even think, the 49ers is a winnable game, especially with Brock Purdy being out. So we'll just have to, see how it all plays out. But, please continue to leave comments and things like that if you can. Make sure you are sounding off and letting me know exactly what you think about what's going on with the Dirty Birds. We'll go here to some comments from yesterday's video. We had quite a few. Jeff Holton, again, we just talked about him a minute ago. Well, CG, looks like you might have been right about keeping Koo, and it just might be time to be looking around for a new offensive coordinator and head coach. This team obviously was not prepared, and I blame Raheem for that. There's too much inconsistency for this team to be successful under the current regime. Something has to change, and unfortunately, it might not be this season. There's no benefit to making wholesale changes a quarter of the way through the season, but something has to change about the way we operate. There's no positives yesterday. Thanks for letting me vent. Well, they're trying to make some changes, Jeff. Again, TJ Yates is now the quarterback's coach and the wide receivers coach. We're going to see Zach Robinson coming down to the field. Ike Hilliard is out at wide receivers coach, so they're hoping that some of these changes will help spark the offense. Let's see. Let's see here. Another one. Well, let's take a look at this. All right, one of our problems, this is Arnett Jays, Arnmt, Arnett Jays. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. One of our problems is that we don't have a tier 1 wide receiver. Drake and Mooney are tier 2 at best. Drake is not even faster than Kyle. These short pass routes are a problem. Well, I guess it just depends on how you view these guys. I think I've always looked at Mooney and Drake as a 1A, 1B. In terms of the Falcons, Drake is not Jamar Chase. He is not Justin Jefferson. He is not one of those guys who's going to take it to the house, who runs a 4.3 or 4.2, whatever, 40, and is going to burn you, going 60 miles an hour down the field for a touchdown. That's not Drake London's game. He's more of a possession receiver. He's a big target. He can run all the routes and do those things, but again, not a burner in the speed game, and that's okay. You don't have to have one. Roddy White was not the ultimate speed guy either. He just did what he could. He did what he did, and he did it very well. So Mooney is more of the speed guy between them, who can really burn it and take it to the house. So I like the combination of Mooney and Drake, and maybe one of them isn't a true number 1 receiver. Maybe they are 1A and 1B and need to be paired up with someone else. So again, I don't mind the pairing of Mooney and Drake. I just want to see more production, like the rest of us want to see more production. All right, folks, that's going to end it for today's show. Appreciate y'all chiming in, as you always do. And we'll be back with more on Wednesday for Falcons Daily. Until then, I'm CG. Sayonara and buenos noches.